The second message. In those distant and ancient times, pure light battled against the forces of hell. He gave birth to life in Mother Svaga and brought beauty and light into the original world, but darkness did not want to yield to light, and hell rose against God's light. Darkness aimed to seize paradise, twist worlds onto a dark path, and prevent beauty from enveloping the world, sowing discord instead. Battles echoed in Midgard, already inhabited. At the edge of this land lived a race of pure light. The sounds of battles penetrated the world that was already inhabited on the land of Midgard. At the very edge was that land, and on it lived a race of pure light. Memory has preserved many times, tying together the threads of past battles. People remember the gods and heroes, how they kept peace in Midgard. Thousands of years have passed since Lelia was gone, she who shone in the sky even on God's day. Lelia gathered strength over the land of darkness to break the will of Midgard and the gods. Dark knew of the plot and destroyed the division, and the dark armies were crushed by the rain god. But centuries passed, and once again the forces of hell penetrated the earth and wrought evil. The heroes and gods fought fiercely against hell, sparing no lives to cut off the darkness. The battles were long. Only the gods remember how many warriors fell in those clashes. Many did not know what the fight was for, how much blood was spilled on the earth like ore, but they remained faithful to the light and the source, guarding the source of life from the raids of evil. Many did not know what the battle was about, how much blood and ore had watered the earth, but they remained faithful to the light and the source, guarding the source of life from the raids of evil. One legend has been preserved about the battle, how the warrior Rodmir guarded the source. This event took place at the fortress of Arkolna, which guarded the entire southern border of the Riffian mountains. When hundreds of warriors departed for Scythia to defend the borders from the Rozaroth, only the wounded warrior remained in Arkolna, over whom the sorcerers were casting their spells. They were closing all the wounds from the battles that Ratmir had received at the border. No one could know how long the glorious heroes had departed for the bright Scythia. The path to the border is long, not close. It's a month for the horsemen, but more for those on foot. Life flowed quietly in the weight of Arkolna. There hadn't been any raids on the source for a long time. The sorcerers healed all of Radmir's wounds. They brought him to the source every day, but soon the raven brought dark news that the enemy was creeping towards the source of life. The sorcerers decided to inform Arkolna about the dark news that had come to their knowledge, to discuss with the clans how to set up defenses to thwart this dark plot. Radmir bowed to the wise men and presented his plan for their consideration. To sow the fields around the source of life with the miracle herb called Svarog. It will hide this source from enemies, and the foes will perish from Svarog's wrath. This miracle herb, as legend has it, gives birth to a vision from our thoughts, and everyone, inhaling the aroma of the miracle herb, judges himself according to the will of the sorceress. That herb hasn't been seen in the world for a long time. Only the dwellers keep its seeds. The silver-haired sorcerers argued for a long time about whether to sow the herb or to gather the militia. Dy Sviatogor resolved all doubts. He commanded to carry out two decisions: to give Radmir the seeds from the storage so that he can sow the fields around the source, and to gather the militia in 2 weeks to protect Arkolna from the enemies. Everything was done according to DIY's word. All the fields were sown and all the troops were gathered. DIY Sviatogor secretly informed Radmir about the wonder herb and the sacred source, as the source of life grants strength to all people, gods and various plants. It reveals the essence of each, showing what gifts it bestows upon life. In the gods it reveals hidden powers, endowing people according to their thoughts. The secrets of the birth of herbs around the source were unknown to all people before the sowing. Each plant near the source changed its properties and its original growth. The mushrooms rose above the ground, but they were endowed with a stony flesh. The feathergrass rose up to a span, and the berries of the comas grew like trees. What will happen to the wonder herb when the hour strikes and the sprouts appear? What will the source of life endow the herb with? The priests have no answer to this question. What will the source endow the herb of life with? The priests have no answer to this question. All that remains is to place our faith in God's hands and prepare for the encounter with the enemies. 2 long weeks passed unnoticed. The Svarosh herbs rose halfway, and no one from the clans went to the source. Only Radmir beheld the wonder of the herb. From the hill, he cast his gaze into the valleys, hoping to see the approach of the enemy. At the beginning of the 7th week after the sowing, dusty whirlwinds swirled in the distance. The enemies were racing on horseback like shadows, hoping to secretly reach the source. Only 2 ascents of Irila remain, and the enemy will reach the source of power. Radmir told Sviatogor and the elder priests about this, who were in the trenches. The priests accepted the battle word all around, and they brought offerings to the gods everywhere. Svetogor gave Radmir his blessing and a good word for those going into battle. And so Radmir went to the source of life, hiding his body under the chainmail. He set up a hidden stash in a Dubrav, where no one would notice or find it with their eyes. Near the stash, in a clearing by the stone, lies the sacred source of life force. He revealed the essence of life in the Vordmir, uncovering the ancestral connection with his forefathers. They formed a tight circle around him. Each spoke with great wisdom how to rid ourselves of all the enemies of the light, how to protect this sacred source. Midnight was approaching in the sacred grove. All the birds fell silent, their trills unheard. How to protect this sacred source? Midnight was approaching in the sacred grove. All the birds fell silent, their trills unheard. The heavenly moon, shimmering with the stars, illuminated the forests and glades with its lunar light. Yes, the winds of Stribog played, hiding the rustle of the night among the trees. At midnight, neighing horses and enemy breath. The herb's scent caught the enemies entering the glades. Guttural speeches with a foreign dialect mixed with the creaking and ringing of weapons. As soon as the enemies stepped into the glades, the aroma of the miracle herb caught their attention. He instilled anxiety in their hearts, and visions began to arise before their eyes. They emerged from the depths of their consciousness and manifested as solid nightmares. Before the enemies, Radmir appeared from the shadows, and behind him, his warriors stood in formation. The light of Radmir's lineage, the wise ancestors, decided to help their descendant in battle. The beautiful heroes in shining armor, drawing their swords, charged at the enemies. A strange battle began in the middle of the glade, where the ghosts fought on equal terms with the living. To all the enemies, it seemed that the heroes were everywhere, the gleam of their swords blinding them mercilessly. The clash of swords rang out until dawn, where enemies fell, fighting among themselves. In the morning, in the rays of the rising sun, Radmir wandered through the glades alone. He bestowed a good word upon his ancestors for the help they provided in the great battle. They smiled happily at Radmir and sank into eternity, passing through Dubrava. Thus the sacred source was preserved from all desecrations and enemies of destruction. With this, Ratimir finished his song. The news of Radmir remained in the hearts of all. She will live on the lips of the bright race, in her lineages, and will be told to the descendants. The next day, he continued the tale and shared new news with all the people.